What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here from DataDash, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic day wherever you are, because in today's video, I want to spend some time to talk about one of the most interesting projects I have on my radar when it comes to the move to earn and SportFi narrative within crypto and Web3. Today, we're talking about none other than Runwago, and how Runwago is aiming to finally build the first real sustainable move to earn application that allows you to earn when you run. This has been a narrative that a lot of people got excited about back in the prior bull market, and I think as we've seen a lot of prior short-term success stories, Runwago is the first real project that can go on to become a mainstream application and really bring into the promise of bringing millions upon millions of new users into crypto and Web3. So today I want to talk about what makes Runwago different, how it's a much more sustainable project versus prior predecessors, and beyond that as well, talk about how this could be an opportunity to get on the ground floor on something big, as they're currently going through the second round of their pre-sale. So I'll have some details down below in the description. Of course, you can use my link to get 5% extra when it comes to investing, but let's go ahead and first talk about the project here. Because we first need to understand that Runwago is aiming to really build move to earn in the most simple, practical, and sustainable way possible. At the end of the day, most move to earn applications have brought about this promise that you're able to earn when you're moving. But the problem is that so many of those applications don't really provide a clear answer as to how you get that yield by moving around. And this is a really important question to ask, because if there isn't a clear, sustainable way that this yield is earned from your activities, then the project's not going to last. And we'll talk about a couple stories here and use that as a comparison to how Runwago actually is able to offer this ability to earn through move to earn. Okay? So first, a big hint here is that there are really no games, there's no required NFT purchases, there's no crazy side quests. At the end of the day, it is clear and transparent here. And it's at the end of the day focused on your ability to stick to the application and participate within the ecosystem. And I think this is a big reason why the round sold out so quickly. Now, if we talk about kind of the existing applications in the market, a lot of the major brands, for example, like Adidas and Nike, have their own running community applications. But the biggest story of success, above all, within crypto and Web3 has probably been Stefan. This is probably a project you've heard of before. I probably don't need to tell you that this was a huge success story and kind of a poster child of the broader move to earn narrative back in 2021 and 2022, back when it was really trending back a couple years ago. Well, the project not only soared to an entire market cap of $860 million, but along with that as well, saw over 2 to 3 million users back 3 years ago utilizing the application. So it was this really viral application, this really good success story within Web3. Very few projects had those kind of numbers. So what was the problem with Stefan, right? Because at the end of the day, Stefan did make some good strides for the sector. But if we take a look here at GMT and a lot of the major tokens for these projects, you will see that essentially they had their run up and then they faded down. So what was the problem here? Well, essentially Stefan paid out unsustainable yields that were pretty much coming out of nowhere and relied on the demand of the core NFTs, these collectible sneakers that would allow you to have an entry ticket towards participating within the ecosystem. And while there's nothing wrong with having the upfront cost, the problem was that the yield was not tied towards any kind of sustainable foundation. Not to mention you had to constantly pay for the repair of your sneakers or upgrade your sneakers in order to continue keeping your yield at where it used to be. So essentially people saw through it, and it wasn't a sustainable model where there were clear inputs and there were clear outputs. It was just basically yield coming out of nowhere for activity. And while that's definitely fun in the short term, and obviously it's cool to see the kind of gamified aspects around the kind of move to earn movement, I want to see something that's sustainable. This is a big reason why I haven't covered this industry before on the channel. And Runwago is actually a project that addresses this. It may not be as sexy as something like a Stefan that might pay you some astronomically unsustainable yield right away, but it's not some kind of short-term Ponzi or small project. It's something that's actually built on being a real use case to get people to participate. So how exactly does Runwago work when it comes to actually being a sustainable project? Well, I can just explain it to you right here. It's very simple. Essentially speaking, Runwago has its own native currency, the RWG token. And the main thing to understand is that when you want to participate in the move to earn campaigns or challenges that are going on within the application, you basically stake or put up a certain amount of RWG. Now, the great thing about this is it doesn't matter if you want to use a small amount, you don't need to buy whatever the kind of base floor price is of some kind of NFT. Instead, you just put in whatever amount of RWG you want to put in, small or large, and this essentially goes into a pool. All the users are essentially staking or putting their RWG into a pool in order to participate. Some people can also use USDT, as we'll talk about later. But at the end of the day here, you essentially need to meet your running goals. And if you do, you get your original RWG back plus some of the RWG that was essentially put up by stakeholders who didn't meet their running challenge goals. So it's actually a really simple model here. There's essentially this community pool the funds go to, and those who don't show up and essentially meet to their goals don't get the RWG, and those who do get the tokens. So the yield is something much more sustainable, and it's something that is obviously not going to be probably out the wazoo. It's not going to knock out the socks of the users, but it's something that at least has a clear input and output. There is no kind of false yield to encourage short-term adoption. It's something that essentially encourages you to show up every single day, make a little bit each day, and as time progresses, it can really start to add up in the same way that you do passive investing, right? So this to me is a much more sustainable model long-term. Is something that really excites me, especially considering that the market here for health app revenue has been continuing to grow year by year. This is becoming a larger and larger segment of the tech sector. Not to mention as well, even though we've seen a slight cool down from the kind of pandemic highs in 2021, there is still an abundance of people who are using these move to earn or health related applications versus where they were before the pandemic. Over 50%. So this to me is still a really exciting opportunity, and I don't really see it slowing down anytime soon in any serious fashion. Now, one of the big things to understand about Runwago as a project is that it's got a lot of accolades that make it one of those projects that, in my opinion, is kind of a diamond in the rough. Not many people are talking about it now. I like that. I like that there is a lot going for the project. And what you generally see here within the partnership section, as I'll dive into a little bit later, you'll start to see that there are a lot of really positive things going on for this project. The first thing I wanted to go ahead and talk about here is the teams that are basically backing it. So obviously you have the core team who's building the application, but along with that as well, they have a lot of external parties that are helping to make this a really strong success story. They have Chiron Labs as a Web3 advisor that's going to help them with tier 1 centralized exchanges, VCs, and institutional and angel investor networks. Chiron Labs is a big player, so to have them on board in a serious capacity really gets me excited. But they also have other incubators and legal firms that are helping to make sure that the tokenomics make sense and to make sure that the project has additional resources to really get it out there into the mainstream and hopefully reach their target of millions upon millions of users coming onto Runwago's network. But beyond having a strong team, the roadmap itself is also very exciting, with a lot of the items from 2023 and 2024 being met here over the last couple of years. So the project, again, I think it's important to state that this is a project that didn't just pop up overnight. They've been working on this well before a lot of the markets kicked up. That to me speaks a lot of confidence here about the project. But the Q1 roadmap is really where a lot of exciting things are coming in here. Obviously, this is a time where altcoins are starting to pick up in optimism. There are more users coming into crypto and Web3, and all the major things here from the core product being developed, the pre-sale being run, and ideally, the project is going to be targeting some solid exchange listings in Q1 of 2025. This really sets it up for a really solid trajectory for it to reach out into the market and people to finally be able to start participating in a mainstream fashion, because right now it's the pre-sale. But as the token goes live, that will be that initial entry ticket for a lot of people to participate in Runwago. Again, you have to put up a little bit of tokens here in order to actually get the yield from it. But at the end of the day, it's something that, again, is very clear. The yield is coming from those who do not complete the challenges. So I see it as essentially, I think that people would essentially put maybe like a little bit of money here and there, trying it out. And the more they get involved in the app and everything, they might put more and more in this case. And it's really, at the end of the day, dependent on who shows up and who doesn't. And that's kind of the cool thing. I think it's a really nice communal aspect in regards to the kind of virality of the application. And along with it as well, this is something that's important to understand, the RWG buyback. Now, essentially, as I talked about earlier, RWG is a core utility token. I like utility tokens because it is baked into the broader demand of the platform. However, another key thing that is tied with utility tokens is a buyback mechanism. And essentially with RWG, you can also participate within Runwago's application through using USDT. the most prominent stablecoin out there. So if you wanted to put up, for example, I would say, for example, maybe $100 of USDT for your week's challenge on Runwago, essentially, you can not only earn a yield back or rewards from the pool in this case, and I think in the form of Runwago essentially, or the RWG token, but also the platform itself generates fees, right? So essentially, the important thing to understand here is that they're going to be using those fees from USDT in order to repurchase RWG, so to create a buyback mechanism. So this will again be a deflationary pressure on the token in the long run. So I definitely think that this is something important to understand here when it comes to the project's success long term. So this not only opens up a whole new pool of users to participate in the Runwago application, but it also opens up an entirely new revenue stream and demand for the utility token. So I think that this is a really great idea here. Outside of that as well, from a security perspective, they also had an audit from Hacken. So this is a really good kind of state-of-the-art procedure here when you're launching a new project to be able to have this proper audit on the smart contract code. So if you guys are interested to dive into the details of that, you guys can go ahead and check that out on their website. But beyond all this as well, there's also an airdrop campaign being run through Zelly. Zelly is a very big airdrop campaign website or community-oriented website. So they're doing an airdrop campaign for Runwago there. So if you guys want to get some free RWG, you can definitely check that out. But I think above all, guys, while I'm not here to tell you guys that you have to go out and buy it or anything, at the end of the day, you have to do your own due diligence. I've got a small position in RWG, but the big thing here above all is that if you like this concept, if you really think that run to earn is going to be a big narrative going forward, if there's a chance for it to really come back and for Runwago to be one of the big players, I would not wait until tier 1 centralized exchanges. That's when the token will probably be trading at a much higher valuation. If you feel like the terms are favorable for the pre-sale in this case, getting it at a much cheaper valuation than a listing price, then in this case, it might be an opportunity you want to consider. But I, at the end of the day, would advise you guys do your own research, do your due diligence. It's not financial advice. Again, I've got a small position in Runwago. I'm interested to see how the project is going to do long term. If you guys are also interested to keep up with them, I'll leave some links down below in the description where you can follow them over on Twitter, keep updated with some of the things that are coming up for the project. But if you enjoyed this video, guys, consider dropping a like. It's a great way to support the channel. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about it, how it compares to Stefan and some of these other players. I'd love to get your thoughts. And I hope you guys are doing well wherever you are. I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.